Hello, my name's Steve Lemon. I'm sat here with my wife, Jo Wescott, Osborne Law's first female managing partner. As we celebrate International Women's Day, the team here thought it might be fun for me to interview her about her experiences and what it means to be female managing partner. For context, my background, I co-founded a payments infrastructure business, which we sold to Visa. And currently I'm a partner at Volution Ventures, where we invest in lots of fintech and enterprise software businesses. Our mandate stipulates that we seek diversity at board and executive level of the companies that we invest in. We're charter members of trade bodies like Women in Fintech, Women in VC. In fact, some of the best founders and management teams that we work with at Volution are led by women. So I was very excited to participate in this session today. So I should know this, but you've been managing partner, what, 18 months, 2 years now?
Just coming up to 2 years.
How do you feel about it? How's it going?
It's going really well. Don't get me wrong, it's a huge responsibility, but it's going really well. I like what we're doing here at Osborne's. The rest of the equity partnership are really supportive. And yes, although I very much feel like I'm at the start of my managing partner journey, I do feel that I've now found my feet after 2 years.
I should also know the answer to this, but you've been in law, what, 18 years now? What is it that first made you decide to be a lawyer?
It's a really good question. So I didn't study law initially. In fact, I did an undergraduate degree in geography, and then I learned whilst I was at university that you could do this conversion course with the College of Law, which later became the University of Law in Guildford in Surrey. So once I learned that you can convert to law, I thought, yes, actually, I've got all the attributes of a really good lawyer, and something that you probably agree with. You know, I'm extremely argumentative. So yes, so that's why I converted to law, and I've never looked back.
Being female managing partner is very unusual. Was it always part of your plan? Did you always intend to end up running the firm?
No. In fact, I think not only am I a rare beast being a female managing partner, but also to be a female managing partner in my early 40s, I think that's especially rare. So no, it was never part of my plan. As you know, I've lived and breathed family law for almost 2 decades. So it wasn't even on my agenda, but with the support of the equity partners, they encouraged me to step up, and here I am running the firm. So
how would you describe your leadership style?
I think my leadership style is very much still developing, and everyone has a different leadership style. But for me, I would say I'm about empowering people. Here, I further the culture where I want people to feel empowered. I want them to make decisions, and I want them to be forward thinking. I always bang on about growth and being fit for growth. And part of my leadership style is very much that. It's empowering people to make decisions to grow and to grow the business.
So you're encouraging initiative and helping people flourish in their own careers whilst contributing to the business.
Yes, absolutely. And in particular, women, because of the partnership here, 61% are female. And of the equity partnership, where there are 13 of us, 58% are women. So in particular, because I've done it, as you know, you can be a woman in a position of power and have a family. And for me, that's important.
So International Women's Day, it's about progress, representation and accelerating action. What does that mean for you in real terms?
It's really an acknowledgement of how far we've come, but also a chance to reflect on how further we have to go. So Osborne's is very supportive of women. It's one of the reasons that we're doing this. But of the partnership of 31, over 60% are female, and of the equity partnership of 13, over 50% are female. And I still think that's really quite rare these days.
I was doing some Googling ahead before I left my office earlier, and it's roughly double the average, I think, from what I was reading. It's really quite remarkable.
Yeah, so Osborne's is really forward-thinking and diverse. And we are certainly a firm whereby you can have your career, but you can also have a family, as you know.
Professional mum of 2 kids. I've seen firsthand how hard that is. I live it every day. But how do you juggle that in the workplace?
Well, as you know, it's difficult, and it is very much a juggle. And sometimes balls are in the air longer than you'd like, or balls are in your hand longer than you like. But yes, I mean, I certainly couldn't do it without help, including from you. But for me, it's the reason I do it. And I think you've heard me say to the children before, when they are naturally disappointed that mummy's doing busy work, as they call it, that I've explained to them that, you know, I work this hard because I represent women in a minority, and female managing partners are a minority. And I want to make it easier for the next generation of females, whether it be in law or management, to work towards positions such as the one that I find myself in. And so, yes, life is exactly that, a juggle.
It is. But I think you're a great role model for our daughter, so
Thank you.
It's worth it. So building on that, what advice would you give to aspiring women in law, or any business for that matter, actually, women with aspirations for leadership?
It's a good question. So my experience is to work hard and to be passionate about what you do. Because if you're passionate about something, then it really comes through. And find people who will fight your corner. So here I had Mark Friedman, another one of the equity partners here. He very much fought my corner and has been supportive of my role here, as well as other partners. And I've also taken on external mentors, both female and male, who've helped shaped me and my style. And I have found their experience invaluable. So if you want to aspire to be in a certain position, then surround yourself with people who are in that position and take their knowledge and take their experience and learn from that.
And specifically, where else have you taken inspiration? What role models have you had to give you a guiding light along the way?
Yes, well, there are a few spectacular women in law. One who springs to mind and is at the forefront of my mind is Baroness Hale, who was the first female Supreme Court judge and who later became the first female president of the Supreme Court. And although she is small in stature, she is very much mighty.
So probably putting you on the spot here, but what next for you? And more importantly, what next for Osborne's? Where do you take the business from here? What's your grand vision?
In the past 2 years, Osborne's has continued to grow at a phenomenal rate, and turnover has increased year on year. But going forwards, I want more for the firm. I want to continue to grow it. We are no longer the small high street firm where we started 50 odd years ago. We are now very much a medium-sized firm. offering services across London and the home counties. And I feel now is the time to bed in the strategies for growth that have been working. And I write a lot, as I'm sure you'll see, because I also run them past you, about being fit for growth. And that means having to implement changes here, which are new, and sometimes change isn't always warmly embraced. But I think now I've been in situ long enough that my fellow partners and staff trust me with the decisions to make to grow the business and to continue to grow the business and expand into other areas.
This is something that we speak about a bit, and I've seen on the journey that I've been professionally and the companies I work with on a day-to-day basis now, but kind of the business where you are in terms of the number of people in the organisation and the revenue line that you have, you're kind of at an inflection point where the business is almost at a crossroads. You either continue to grow and necessarily have to make those evolving changes underneath you to put the infrastructure in to enable that, or you carry on as a cooperative effectively. So it's a challenging crossroads for any firm. How's that being received?
That's exactly right. How you describe it. It is a crossroads. It is a challenging time. And for me, very much the vision is to continue to grow, continue to expand, and continue to do what we're good at. But we're now at over 200 people. We have 18 heads of teams here. So not only are we just increasing in our headline areas of what we do, such as family, private client, property, but we create specialist teams within those departments. And I'm pleased to say 10 out of 18 of those heads of roles are filled by women. So it's also expanding within what we already do and what we already do well. We are also fortunate enough to house the next generation of rising stars, both male and female lawyers who are recognised in their fields as up and coming. And that's a really exciting prospect. They are the future, and we invest heavily in the future. We recognise talent, we promote talent, and we also acquire talent. And that's something that Osborne's does really well.
And how do you create a safe space for these people to thrive and do their best work?
It's our culture. It's always been our culture that attracts people, and then that's why they stay, and we have a high retention rate. I mean, there are some here who have been in the firm 40 plus years.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I don't know any firm that's got that length of tenure in their some of their people. That really is very rare.
And within that culture, we empower people. They can grow here, and we've seen it with our heads of teams that I've mentioned earlier. We have 18 heads of roles, and there are teams within the wider departments where people have a specialism. They then create and recruit their team, and it's a tried and tested formula that works really well here.
And how do you handle when people want to move on?
That happens very rarely. And in fact, in the entire time I've been here, I think only 2 partners have left, which in itself is a very low number. But we learn from the experience, and that's how change comes about. Is there anything that we can do differently? Is there anything that we can do better? And we learn from it.
What's the toughest decision you've had to make personally since taking on the role?
That's a really good question. And in fact, I would say that taking on the role was probably one of the toughest decisions that I had to make. As you know, it was something that we discussed at length.
You agonised over it.
I did, because at that time, I very much felt I was at the peak in my practice. I was very much enjoying what I was doing. I had a good reputation. I was in the legal directories. I have a fantastic network. And I was building my team. And so to be presented with the opportunity to become Osborne's Law's first female managing partner, that was a big and tough decision. And as you know, I am still desperately holding on to my practice and trying to wear two hats. And that's a real juggle.
You didn't want to leave behind the network and the reputation that you frankly worked really hard to get to. But also there was another thing at play, wasn't there? I've always referred to it as the healthy wolf at my back, imposter syndrome. Can I do this? Am I good enough? How do you feel about imposter syndrome, and how real is it for you?
Imposter syndrome is very real, but what I've come to realise is that everybody has it. And in fact, more and more people talk about it openly. And I have recently, in both an internal and an external post. But imposter syndrome is very real, and naturally, you will always go back to where you feel most comfortable. And for me, that's family law. But real growth takes place in those...
outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. And that's where I am. That's very much where I have positioned myself.
I've always had a dysfunctional relationship with imposter syndrome. I learned to love it because it's the thing that drives you forward. It's the thing that drives you into the room full of better people. It's where you learn.
Definitely. That's absolutely right. And it's not just in the rooms full of other people, but it's also in the knowledge that you absorb. I mean, my bookshelf now is very different. In fact, you have recommended several books to me, which now fill my bookshelves, whereas before they were all full of the resolution, code of conduct, and other texts on domestic abuse and accounting and family law. Now they look very different. And most of them have come as recommendations from you.
Obviously, we've spoken about what leadership means to you, but what do you think the generation coming through look for? Or maybe what do you think they need without necessarily realising it?
I think they look for inspiration. They look for a role model. But they really look for support and confidence that they can grow. And we provide that here at Osborne's. And we have fantastic mentors amongst the partnership and otherwise that the next generation of lawyers look up to, learn from, and aspire to be like.
How do you manage pressure, and what does resilience mean to you in this new normal? I saw how you were resilient when you were practicing, but being resilient in a leadership role is entirely different, I think.
It's very different. I have learned new levels of resilience that I didn't know I had. And it is very much not being reactive, and also not taking things personally. One of the things that you have to become comfortable with is that not everybody shares your vision. And for me, I have a very clear vision of where I want things to be, where I want the firm to go. And I have to share that vision with my equity partners, and then that trickles down. But it's them buying into my vision and sharing that vision with me. And 90% of the time, they are with me. And you definitely hear about the 10% when they're not.
It's a different motion, isn't it? You can be an individual contributor and you just have to focus on being the best that you can be. Mm-hmm. But moving into leadership, you have to help your team be the best that they can be, but also you have to line them behind a common vision. It's a challenge.
Yes, and that's exactly something that I struggled with initially when I first took on this role, and that was the switch from being an individual contributor to no longer being that, but actually being a leader of this law firm.
Yeah, change and change management is a skill set in itself. It's not straightforward.
Yes, and in fact, people often ask me, how do you manage the firm? And my response, more often than not, is that I simply say, I don't manage, I lead.
There's a big difference between the two.
Absolutely. Despite the title of managing partner.
Yes. How do you distinguish management and leadership?
That's definitely a skill I'm still learning. For those that know me best will know that I'm the ultimate control freak. In fact, I think most lawyers are. Mm-hmm. But
I can attest to that.
I've had to learn to delegate. But that's, again, part of the culture is empowering people. I don't want a culture whereby people don't feel able to make decisions. I want to provide them with the framework and the parameters in which they make decisions and they're empowered to grow and to flourish. So for me, it's about having a leadership style that allows for that and not micromanaging everything. Yes, of course, I manage, that comes as part of the course. But just because I analyze the data to feed into my wider strategy, it doesn't mean that I need to physically input that data to be able to analyze it.
Who's your most inspirational female role model?
That's got to be my mum. As you know, she was the first in her family to leave the Philippines and start a career in a completely different country. She was the first in her family and generation to marry into a different race. She truly is an inspiration to me when I think about her journey and her career and her vision. I mean, she moved to a different country where she didn't know the language. In fact, moved in with my father's parents. So moved into a completely different culture whilst he continued to work abroad. And not only did she raise a family, but she was also the brains behind the business, and it was her idea to start the business. It was her idea to invest in property, which she did way before it became popular to invest in property. And she has always been 100% supportive of myself and my sister in our careers.
I've always found her inspirational. I've always found myself thinking she's a remarkably thick-skinned and determined lady.
Yes, so...
Real role model.
Yes.